Hey, everybody, welcome to The Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. Today, right here by my right hand side, we have Frankie, who just flew in from LA, right?
Yeah, California.
Okay, cool. And he had a hell of a morning, dude, like flight delayed, all that type of stuff, but he's here now. So, Frankie, I'm appreciative that you're here.
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm so glad to be here. Amazing place too.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. So, for those that don't know you, I know that you've been doing ecom for a long time, right? And I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing is fashion. Is that correct?
Yeah. So my background's fashion and apparel.
Yeah, so you've crushed it, dude. Like somebody that's, I barely found out about you from like Sean, and that was like a
Mm.
while back, right? So based off of kind of taking a look at a lot of your stuff, you post a lot of results almost daily. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you've done over 50 million in sales. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I have. Yeah.
So and how long of a time frame, and how did you kind of get started inside, inside of e-commerce?
So I've been building. So I'm co-founder of Tuned in Tokyo and Drip Creations. So
Okay.
both my businesses do over 8 figures a year. But I've been building brands specifically in the clothing and fashion apparel niche for about 10 years, for
Yeah.
more than 10 years. So since I was like 16 years old.
Damn.
So it's pretty much all I know. So I don't really specify it into e-commerce,
Yep.
but it started with like, I don't know, just me trying to hustle my way through like life pretty much. And I
Yeah.
found my passion at such a young age, never gave up on it.
How long did it take you to get to the 8 figures per year?
So 8 figures per year happened in 2019, but prior to that, we were just doing around like 7 to 8 million, so shy
Right.
of it.
Right.
The biggest difference that happened was with my second company called Drip Creations. That's like the biggest thing that I've ever built.
Yeah.
So it kind of catapulted all the different businesses that were right under it.
Yeah. Well, give us an insight into what that is.
Yeah, so Drip Creations is a customized shoe company. We're the largest shoe customization company in the world. We
Yeah.
were able to take what people do on Etsy, eBay, and pretty much make a brand out of it and scale it. The biggest, coolest thing that we did was partner up with like 1,500 different influencers that were posting our products every single day
Yeah.
for the products themselves. So kind of catapulted. Year one was 2019. We started it literally like in my casita with my younger sister,
Yep.
and we did 4.5 million our first year. Second year we did 11.5 million, and third year we did 16 million
Yeah.
in total sales.
Yeah. And for people that are kind of listening, like, what's that progression look like? Because it's in your first year, it's really good, right? And the second year, it just kind of like increases, and the third year, it just increases. What do you find are like the key levers that kind of move the needle?
Yeah, so like I'm a heavy advocate of knowing who your customer is. Like that's like the I've noticed that throughout the years. I was like writing certain things down just in case like I wanted to start a new business in the future.
Yeah.
And so I wrote down everything that kind of was working for me. So everything that I've learned from mistakes that I made and learned from them. And I noticed that it all revolved around making products for my customers. So in the drop shipping niche, most people focus on finding the winning products. I focus on finding the winning customers because
Mm.
when you like revolve your entire business around what your company want, what your clients and or customers want, you pretty much don't have to sell them on why they need to buy those certain products from
Right.
you. So we've always like made products for our customers, and it's kind of just like feeding candy to a baby.
Yeah. And how do you find that data, or like are you surveying them, or is it because they're purchasing a lot of your products already? Like, how are you gathering that data in order to know?
Yeah, so I'm all about community first. So before I even start a business, I know exactly who I'm going to sell to, and it has to be like a community. So like different niches, because there's riches and niches. So
Yeah.
you have to figure out what community there is, if there's culture, if there's certain things. I have this thing called the 5 C's, which
Okay.
is broken down into like the first one, which is community. So I look at community first. The second is culture. There has to be certain guidelines of way of life, habits that this community lives in. The third thing is collaboration, which is really important. How can I collaborate with you in an organic, natural way where it doesn't feel like it's forced?
Right.
The fourth thing is being able to continuously create products. We have a 37% return customer rate because we're always dropping new products bi-weekly for all my brands.
Wow.
So it keeps us alive, it keeps us going, and that's how you build longevity. The fifth thing is content. We're able to express and communicate our lifestyle with our brand through content on social media, through our ads, and so on.
Yeah. Walk me through that, how it looks like for like a new brand, new product. How do you figure out if there's like a community, if there's a culture that, kind of loves Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
so you definitely need to find something that's lucrative and unique. Like you can't constantly copy something. So like a lot of people try to start fitness apparel brands because they see somebody else that has success with it. I
Yeah.
don't go that route. Clothing, everybody and their mama has tried to start a clothing brand. I've always said that.
Facts.
And it's because it's such a low barrier to entry. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is you want to find something that's a higher barrier to entry. A lot of the reason why Drip was so successful is because we had the balls to really scale it. We had
Yeah.
the balls to invest in and create a team. You know, we're not making one of one shoes for one person and selling it for $4,000. We're selling $200 shoes, but we're scaling that. So we had to hire 40 to 50 people, train a team,
Yep.
manage a team. So actually build a business behind it. So that's always been something that people are afraid to really work hard. They want the easiest thing first. And
Yeah.
I stay away from those things. I love feeling uncomfortable. I love just trying to get through just certain things that aren't really that easy because I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel and usually there's a big win at the end of the
Right.
day. Every single brand that I've started this year, it's not easy. I have a company called Park Friends that we just did 6 figures this year. It's our first year
Yeah.
in business. And it's jerseys, it's customized jerseys, and it took us a year to actually like get production set up.
Yep. Yep.
So people aren't willing to wait a year. They want immediate overnight success.
That's true.
Like Tuned in Tokyo is my second largest big business that I've done. We've sold like tens of millions of dollars in sales. And the problem is that it took us like 4 to 5 months to even break the cycle, break the bubble. And people
Yeah.
quit after 3 months. And it took me 4 to 5 months to get Tuned in Tokyo off the ground, pre Instagram's algorithm when everything was in chronological order.
Oh
So
shit. Yeah.
like people give up so quick and it took me 5 months to get one of my biggest brands off the ground.
And in those 5 months, like, what are you doing? Because for most people, they're like, they might not know when to give up or when to keep going. Like,
Yeah.
they might think like at the end of 3 months, oh fuck, I haven't made shit, or I don't know what I'm doing, so they just give up and they scrap it. For
Mhm.
you, you're like, okay, well, it's 5 months, but I know I still got to do X. I still got to do X, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, how do you determine when the right time is to give up or to keep pushing, and how are you analyzing that data?
So empires in e-commerce are built by two things. It's a middle ground between branding and marketing. You
Yeah.
have to do both. A lot of drop shippers, a lot of like these e-com gurus are so aggressive when it comes to marketing, but they're not aggressive when it comes to branding. So my whole background was branding before I even learned how to like run Facebook ads or work with
Yep.
meme pages and influencers. So I found that middle ground, and that's what makes me very dangerous is that I know both fields. I know how to build a brand, a business, and I also know how to market a business. So that's
Yeah.
been I feel like that's the secret sauce is finding that middle ground. With Tuned in Tokyo, we started off with meme pages. There was a lot of car pages, car video pages, and we ended up like gathering all of them up on like Telegram and Kick at the time
Yep.
and just started off with influencer and meme page marketing rather than doing sponsored ads. A lot of people try to avoid doing influencers or meme pages because it's not that easy.
Yeah.
You have to communicate with 20, 30 people. You have to schedule posts. You have to
Yeah.
figure out content for those pages. People aren't willing to do these things. And that's why I always succeed over everyone because I'm willing to go the hard route, the long road.
Yeah.
So it's been a constant just pathway that I've taken my whole entire life.
Are there businesses that you've started that you're like, okay, I'm gonna scrap this because it's not, it's either not relevant or not, won't kind of pass the threshold that you have?
So I haven't really started a business that I've like scrapped yet.
Yeah.
But I'm always like trying to figure out new businesses to start, new brands to build because I have all these ideas in my head. I just got to figure out how to like get them into
Yeah.
reality, But I do have tunnel vision. There's certain things that I focus on, certain things that I don't. I haven't scrapped a brand, but I've scrapped projects and ideas within the brand.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's actually really, really cool to hear because, like, sometimes people will just give up on certain things that it might not be relevant to them. But it sounds like you're very good at putting the right people in place, so that way you don't necessarily have to manage it in full. Is that true?
Yeah, so you have to. I believe in wearing all the hats at the beginning. So when you're doing like $20,000-$30,000 a month,
Yeah.
you should be wearing all the hats. You should be recording yourself, shooting the content, editing it, doing graphic design, so you can learn the language. So when you outsource it or you start hiring your team, nobody can take advantage of you.
Right.
So
Right.
I know everything, all the ins and outs of my businesses. I've done customer service. I've taken the photos. I know how to do graphic designs. I don't do none of that anymore, but I've learned the language. So everyone, I know what's possible. So when I expect it from someone, they usually come around and do it.
Right.
But I do believe in like a full circle, not pyramid. So you're not at the top delegating and writing everything down and just pushing it
Mm.
on everybody else. I believe in like full circle. We're all winning. We're all eating the same thing. And I
Yeah.
make sure to take care of my team because my team, I wouldn't be here without them, you know?
Yeah.
With every single business that I have, like people think I do a lot. Like, dude, you have like 4 or 5 different companies. How do you manage everything? Well, I have business partners.
Yeah.
And so I believe that every business needs to have business partners in order for you to like really scale this out for the long run. Cause I believe in long term. I don't like to make quick money. Like
Yeah.
I don't do none of that. So every business, especially with brands, I feel like there's 4 specific roles that need to be needed at the beginning. It's a CEO,
Yep.
and it's a creative director, and it's a CMO and a COO. Those are the 4 main responsibilities. Those don't have to be divided into 4 people. They could be 2 people split half and half, or maybe 3 people, but they have to be needed. Everyone forgets about creative director. Creative
Yeah.
director is the most important thing. We talk about the Titanic, right? Well, someone came up with the idea of the Titanic, drew it out, and made it happen. And then the person steering that ship would have been the CEO, but the creative director started that. The CMO was the one promoting that Titanic
Yeah.
to make it a reality, to put attention in front of it. And the COO was the one on the actually operation side of things, making sure everything was executed from the CEO.
Yeah.
So it all works and it all works together, but people forget that there's a creative director that's in charge of the branding, charge of the content, in charge of all the designing. And yeah, so those are the 4 main roles that I feel like are really, really could impact the business right from the jump.
Yeah, and I don't think too many people talk about the creative director role. And
Mm-mm.
honestly, I haven't heard too much about it either because from my point of view, or from what I think, it's like doesn't the CEO kind of take a little bit of that responsibility of like being the
Yeah,
visionary?
exactly.
So does the CEO like is he like the visionary and then he kind of sends it over to the creative director and he kind of makes it like puts a plan together? Or how does that work?
So there's instances where the CEO is a creative director. They know
Okay.
exactly the vision of the brand.
Yeah.
Their ideas, their relationships, their network usually works out. So I've been that my whole entire life where I'm the creative director and I'm also a CEO. But at the same time, I don't really like steering the ship. I
Yeah.
love promoting and attention. So I love the marketing behind it.
Right.
But yeah, so there is that. That's very common that a CEO, usually the creative director becomes a CEO because he's the one that has this idea of starting this business out.
Yeah, that's so true. I can see that.
But
Oh yeah, go
with
for it.
fashion and apparel, it's very different because people, you may think that your ideas are going to work because this is something you wear, you
Right.
like, and that's where everybody like fucks up.
Yeah.
You have to literally take yourself out of the brand itself with all of your ideas. The business side, run it how you want to run it. But the actual creative side of it, you have to literally learn from your community that you're building this brand for.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen the most success. And I've made products that I would wear and they did not do good.
Nobody bought it or what?
Nobody bought it. No.
Yeah. No, I know. I was interviewing somebody else and I was talking to them about like videos and videos that I like and I'm like, yeah, I post some videos that I like which are like more of the luxury lifestyle, eating out food, that type of stuff. And I'm like, dude, nobody likes that. But if I post a video of just me talking or whatever, like it gets more engagement. And then he
Yeah.
told me, he's like, well, dude, when you're making the video that you were making is because you like it versus the other one is like more value to, your audience and what they care about.
Yeah, it's
Just-
relatability. Like,
Yeah.
people can't relate to the steaks that you eat. They can relate to certain other things. Like it's
Yeah.
the same thing. I come from a Hispanic background. If I'm posting about steaks and these 5-star hotels, I'm inspiring them,
Yeah.
but I'm also not relating to them at all. So everything I've always done has to be for them. Like
Yeah.
I know who's watching my stuff, and I always make my content based off who's watching it, and
Right.
it's for them.
And I think that's what you're doing right with the masterclass, the brand masterclass that
Yeah.
you have, because it is pretty low barrier to entry, right? Like
Yeah,
a lot of
it
people
is.
can enter that, and then you spent a lot of money on the event that
Yeah.
you just had, and that was like what last week?
Yeah, so I threw an event for my members. It was $14,000. The event.
Yeah.
That's how much I spent, but it's only $97 to join my actual like mentorship program.
Yep.
And it's more than just a course. Like I go live every Monday, Tuesday. I'm always talking to them every single day on Discord. I have a full team hired for them. I don't care how much money I make through it. I'm
Yeah.
literally just giving back as much as I can. One of the most beautiful things about what I saw at my event, this is my first event that I've ever thrown for my mastermind, and it was so diverse. When I go to these other events that I've been a part of or speaking at, they're usually like I'll call it spade a spade. It's like 80% white people.
Yeah.
My event, there was so much culture. There were black people, Hispanics, Asians, whites, like everyone was there. And it was so beautiful to see this like really colorful room in a way.
Yeah.
Because I have such a low barrier to entry. I want to teach people that don't have thousands of dollars in their bank account, that have $100. So if I can inspire just that one person that literally started just like me, then I've done my job, and I have already, and it feels so good.
Yeah. Well, what's the long-term play with that? Like, is it just to kind of give back, or like, is the long-term play like,
Yeah, so
yeah,
something I got from my pops. They haven't really given me the best advice or the best role models in my life, but something my pops always told me is like, if you have 1,000 people that support you and are extremely loyal to you, you'll never go broke.
yeah,
And I strongly believe in that. I don't want millions of followers. I don't want to be the next Gary Vee, but I do want this strong militia, this army that's all about me, and we could all work together to help each other win. That's what I believe in. So as long as I always, and I've had these people that I've shifted from one brand to another brand to my mastermind. It's the
yeah,
same 1,000 people. So I'll never go broke. And I don't ask them for a lot. I always over deliver, help them out as much as I can. And I feel like we're both winning together. So I'm winning with people. It's
yeah?
a long-term thing.
And that's what I'm noticing from this conversation is you're big on community. You're big on
Yeah.
like increasing the lifetime value of the customer. You're not just burning and then the next one and the next one and the next
Yeah.
one. It's more like, how can I continuously, like you said, I think it was part of your 5 C's, I think it was, like continuously create products, right, for
Yeah.
the same type of people. So I think that's something that, like, if people haven't caught on yet, that's something that they should, because many people, including agencies and stuff like that, like, they just try to get the next customer all the time.
Exactly. You guys are so focused on the numbers, data. But there's a heart and soul on the other side that's watching your content. There's someone there. There's so much happening in that moment. That person is going through all of these emotions, and AI and algorithms can't solve that problem. So it's relatability, it's emotional relatability that really works and actually makes a huge impact in a community.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. People, the only time I ever look at like numbers is traffic on your website. Like if no one's coming to your store, you could have the coolest products in the world, the best designs, whatever it is that you have, the best quality. But if nobody knows about it, you're not going to sell anything. So you do
Right.
need numbers as far as people, traffic, sessions on your website or store, whatever it is that you're selling. But that's the only time I don't humanize my numbers. Other than that, every single person that I interact with or comes to my site, I do my best to like humanize them because they
Yeah.
are humans, they're people.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Honestly, I didn't even think about that, because you're right. A lot of people just think of the numbers.
Yeah, so when I first started like vlogging for Tuned in Tokyo, one of my brands, I remember we started getting like 200 views a video, and somebody had told me like, hey, that I felt like that wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, well, just imagine if you're in a room and 200 people are watching you speak. And I'm like, whoa, that's actually a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 200 people.
A different perspective for sure.
Exactly. So I didn't think about those things, and now I humanize my numbers. And then like your brand is always as big as you are. Your business is always as big as you are. So as I continue to learn, as I continue to grow, get smarter, my business always tends to follow my growth.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. I used to work behind my business. Now I'm kind of in front of it, and they kind of just follow me throughout this entire journey that I'm doing.
Yeah. And part of, I kind of want to go back to like the soul and heart that you're talking about. Like, is that the difference between just branding and,
Yeah.
marketing? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so with like branding, it's all about community, and you can't talk about branding without talking about culture and community.
Right.
So the heart and soul is in there. When it comes to marketing, it's all about numbers. Yeah, that's the numbers game. It's about targeting and trying to like get as many. I always say like the spider web effect. So it's the spider web effect. You're kind of closing it in, and you're just getting as many flies stuck on that spider web.
Yeah.
So that's like aggressive marketing for sure. But branding is all about heart, soul, community, and culture.
Yeah. And then what about, so it's great because like you're talking a lot about how you cater to your audience and your clients, but do you also bring that culture in with your team? And how does that look like
For
internal?
sure. It's more about leverage to me. So I give a lot back. I do everything that I can to like make sure that they're straight, that they're taken care of so that they don't leave. I incentivize every single person in my business because I want them to stay for the long run. I've had instances where I hire someone and train and put so much time and effort into them for like 3, 4 years. Then they leave me for Monster
Yeah.
energy drinks. And it crushes us because it's like you're such a big you have such a big executive role in my business, and now you're gone because somebody offered you more money. So I
Right.
always do my best to incentivize my entire team, everyone from customer service to whatever it is that you're doing, even graphic design for us. There's a way to structure us so that you get incentivized for everything that you do for us.
Yeah. Dude, crazy. How old are you right now?
I'm 30, so I look young, but I'm 30.
You do
Yeah.
look very young,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, I always get that.
So at what, like in the next 2 to 3 years, like, where are you kind of looking to take, your brands? Because you've already crossed, millions and millions in sales. What are you
Yeah.
looking to do?
So I sold Drip Creationz last spring, summer.
Yeah.
And so I exited the business fully. I had like a 1 year contract where I couldn't do anything. So I'm going to start another shoe sneaker company.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. It's going to be very similar, but different in many ways. It's going to
Yeah.
be a different type of business in a way. So that was really cool. That was like my first official exit.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm starting another sneaker company. Then after that, just trying to scale my mentorship program. Right now we have like 400 members. I'm trying to scale it to 10,000 members. And from there, just kind of, I don't know, one day maybe just build a luxury designer brand.
That'd be cool.
That's like the number one goal that I have. I mean, I've had it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Is to be able to like start another Mary, compete with Balenciaga, bad choice of brand right now, but Louis
Right?
Vuitton and Gucci.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
So
feel it.
just
I feel it.
start the next designer brand with like, in a way of my Hispanic heritage.
Yeah. Okay. And do you ever plan on exiting any other company?
Yeah, so Tuned in Tokyo, we're looking to sell that
Yeah.
this year just so that I can focus on all of my mentoring and starting up my next brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like exiting is something new to me. I'm not really like experienced in that. Like I said, I've barely had one, but I'm looking to do my second very, very soon.
Do you know Josh Snow by any
Yeah,
chance?
he's a really good friend of mine.
So they have this thing called like forgot exactly what it's called, like Deal Flow or something like that, where like
Yeah,
they even
sell.
help. Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, if you're good friends with him, like dude, like they could probably help you out with that type of stuff.
Yeah,
Get the
so
most amount.
we got a few bids already for Tuned in Tokyo.
Yeah,
But that's the next thing. It's like selling the biggest brands that I have right now, just doing a full exit, starting something new, growing them up, selling those businesses, and just teaching people along the way how I do that. I love starting. So I started 3 new apparel brands this year, and I love showing exactly what I do to all my members. Like I'm a full open book. They
yeah,
see my Shopify, they see my ads, they see my copy, they see everything. So normally like some ecom guru will just show their sales
right.
or their strategies, but I'm actually showing them the brand behind the scenes, everything that I do from my manufacturers that I'm using, the communication, the way I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
like it's a full open book.
Yeah,
And it's really cool to me. It doesn't hurt me because like since I do high barrier to entry, good luck trying to compete with me.
that's true. That's true. Because I know a lot of people don't do that. They don't show it because they feel like, oh, well, somebody's just gonna copy the store. Go ahead and move forward. But kind of like what you were mentioning earlier, you do stuff that's a little bit more difficult.
It's very difficult.
That way.
If it took me a year to start one of my companies, it's definitely going to take someone else a couple.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and so that's why like I'm completely transparent, but I also show people like, hey, like these businesses that you see me do like 8 figures a year, I didn't just start them overnight. Like
Right.
it took 5 months. One of them took 3 months. This one took a year. Like it takes time, but one day this new company's going to sell 7, 8 figures a year.
yeah.
And you guys saw it from the ground up. And that's the beautiful thing about what I'm doing now is like I get to build brands, be fully transparent, and show people how I do it.
Yeah, which I think is yeah, super super relatable because like I mentioned, not too many people do that. Advice for people that are kind of watching the show right now.
I mean, I have so many words to say, but all I gotta say is I like all you have to do is just put in the time. Like, no one's going to give you a handout. I grew up with no investors, no handouts. Nobody gave me a shot. Nobody put me on platforms. You have to literally make your own platform. If you have to think outside the box, if you're a true entrepreneur, then you have to give this your entire life. People quit after 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but there it's like in the hindsight of things, or if you're looking the opposite direction, you have to be willing to give up your entire life to do this the rest of your life.
Right.
And so that's the biggest advice that I can give anyone. You literally have to give up your entire life to do this the rest of your life.
Yeah. Crazy, dude. So for, people that like don't know where to start, number one, I think the masterclass is the best place to start out, with you. But like, if you had no money, how realistic is it to kind of get to that spot? Because I know you said like you spent a lot of money in the businesses that kind of got you to, 8 figures and stuff like that. But if you didn't have any, how does that look like?
Well, Tune in Tokyo, we didn't have a lot of money, so I feel like what I did was when I first started out, everybody knows that like usually like this is screen printed, like
Yeah.
every t-shirt, everything that's printable is off of a screen. I couldn't afford to go to manufacturer because they were looking for 36 to 48 pieces per item.
Yeah.
And I had 5 designs, so it came out to like $2,000-$3,000, and
Yep.
I only had like $40 in my bank account because I was like 16 years old. This is
Right.
what I saved up. So what I did with my dad and my best friend is we literally made a screen printing press out of wood. We had a brick that would hold down the screens, and we would just squeegee these things ourselves. And like little by little, that $40 turned into $100, $200, and $1,000. It came to a point where I was just really honing in on my craft. I learned everything that there is to know about starting a clothing brand.
Yeah.
Fashion apparel. There's the thing that people forget too is that there's usually like a blueprint laid out with any type of business, and you have to learn everything, the ins and the outs. Read up on, find every article, every YouTube video, everything that you can do to find out who the people that what they did, the people that inspire you and what they did and what they've accomplished and how they accomplished them. So I did that. I
Yeah.
really did master my craft to the point where I could just envision my dream coming to life. I remember going up to an official manufacturer, walking up to them and just pitching them on my idea of my clothing
Yeah.
brand. He was literally blown away
Yeah.
by this like 19, 20-year-old kid. And he was like, okay, I'll make you a deal. I'll invest into all the blanks, print them myself, you sell them, and we'll split the profits. And I won't ask for equity. I just want money of the things that you sell.
Yeah.
So eventually we made our first collection. I had a warehouse sell a grand launch, like a grand opening that day. We sold everything,
What?
everything.
How many units or shirts, if you don't mind me asking?
Maybe like 5,000. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I had like 800 people come through.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's just, and I didn't have a lot of money, but I was like so wise. And I always talk about that. Like right now, I have a lot of great things, and I'm so appreciative of what I have. But you can strip everything away from me. You can strip my businesses, the assets that I own. I'm still me. So like people forget that you have to be able to be someone when you have nothing.
Yeah.
You still are a person. I don't ever like value someone for their net worth, or their self-worth shouldn't have a number tied to it.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way. I know what I know. I have what I have. I've been through what I've been through, and no one's going to tell me what my self-worth is. So I want everybody to like really do their best to really hone into their craft, master it. So eventually people like I'm in a space right now where I don't have to invest my own money into any new brand. I can ask for money because people
Yeah.
trust me. People know and it's just not what I've built. Like even if I didn't build anything, my vision is so clear on paper that they can actually trust me to execute it.
Yeah.
So the people that don't have no money to start a brand, they need to focus on that. They need to focus on actually laying out the blueprint and also studying and mastering the people that have mastered that craft before them.
Right. And if somebody's like, they have a 9 to 5 and stuff like that, what part of that is more important? What part of that is more crucial? Is it the learning portion, or like execution, or like, because they probably might not have as much time, because when you started out, you just had school, right? Because you were young.
So I had three things. I was going to school in the mornings and
Yeah.
at night, and I would work at Angels baseball, and I would work on my business during like the hours that I couldn't. So I'd
Yeah.
sleep around like 4 to 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And this is what you have to do. Like I had no
Right.
choice. And this is, guys, this is like when I first started Tuned in Tokyo, we were sleeping. I was in a 1 bedroom apartment, sleeping on the floor. Eventually, we got 4 twin beds with my team in that same apartment. And this is what you have to do. It's part of the game. You
Yeah.
know, if no one, like I said, no one's going to give you a handout. No one's going to invest in you. You have to really take advantage of like the time. And back in the day, this is like 2013, 14, 15, there wasn't access to courses, mentorships like
Right.
they are today. YouTube wasn't YouTube what it was. In 2008, when I was like 16 years old, there was nothing like courses. Everything was so motivation. And like we could talk about motivation. What more motivation do you need if you're broke, have kids, or aren't the best version of yourself? That
Yeah.
should be enough to motivate you to work your ass off every single day. And if that doesn't motivate you, then you don't have it in you anyways. You shouldn't even be
Right.
an entrepreneur, because there's
Yeah.
other people out there that are willing to do that work that you're not. So there should be like no excuses. I mean, there's problems. Everybody goes through situations. People go through tough times, but you really like show your true character when things go wrong, and it's how you react to those problems that really shows the success of who you are.
Yeah. One thing that I want to mention is, like, even today, like the delay of the flight, like you took it like a champ. Like, other people would be extremely upset or whatever. Like, they would come in heated, like, and you weren't. You were like, obviously it was like a setback, but it's not like, oh, the end of the world. We made it work, right? Like we ended up making it work out anyways. So it's like, when shit hits the fan for you, what's your go-to remedy to kind of like, okay, well, kind of taking a step back and, knowing how to move forward?
So like, yeah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I noticed that like at the beginning I would let these problems affect me emotionally and physically too, like mentally, physically, all above. Like I was really, really emotional when I first started. Eventually I got through miracles. Like miracles literally had to align. Things had to happen in order for me to be who I am today and have all the success that I've had. So I realized that a lot of these things are just in God's hands.
Yeah.
Like even today, the flight was delayed. There was a car crash on the way to the airport. And at some point when I'm going through the TSA, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like honestly, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
gonna make it. But we're here. Like literally, we're here, and I don't know how it happens, but every single time we get through it, and there's always a way. There's literally always a way. So it's not the end. But yeah, I think that like what doesn't kill you always makes you stronger, man.
Dude, powerful advice. He was talking about a warehouse that you're doing for your students.
Yep.
What is that?
So I have 2 factories right now. I have multiple offices, but I have 2 factories dedicated for like my whole my members.
Yeah.
So I'm building one in China where we'll be able to do like print on demand with premium blanks, very similar to what I have on right now.
Okay.
And we're kind of going to change the game, because right now you can go on like these POD print on demand apps and get these like flimsy, cheap garments and cheap prints. And that's not how you scale a brand. There has to be quality control. There has
Yeah.
to be some sort of quality, especially when you're charging $40, $50 for a hoodie or a t-shirt, whatever it is that you're selling. So what we're doing is we're taking the most premium blanks that are available here in America, restructuring them in China, and we're able to print with no minimums. So there's no
What is that?
risk, no gamble.
Oh, that's really good.
You don't have to do these 36 pieces that I was talking to you
Yeah.
about, and we can ship it directly to your customers. So now you can
Wow.
you can literally start a clothing brand from scratch with very, very minimum risk.
And you can just test it out like that.
That's what I teach. I always like teach, because you investing into inventory on your clothing brand right from the jump is literally the same thing as you throwing $5,000 on black
Yeah.
at the roulette
Yeah.
table here.
And
Yeah,
praying.
it's
Yeah.
the same thing. And so my advice is that you should never invest into inventory before you know before you know what is actually going to sell, because 10 out of the 2 out of the 10 products that you just listed are probably going to do well. The
Yeah.
rest are just going to be overstocked. The number one problem that I see most people start with their clothing brand is they always invest into their logo shirts. When at the beginning, no one knows who you are.
That's
It's
true.
going to take some time. You're not a Supreme. You're not a Louis Vuitton. Not at the beginning, you're not.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time. So at the beginning, no one's going to support you but your friends and family. What people buy is designs. They
Yeah.
buy slogans and they buy designs. So at one point, Nike wasn't selling Nike shirts. They were selling Just Do It shirts. There's different brands like Lions Not Cheap. Some of my
Yeah.
friends, Live Fit Apparel, like Live Fit, like that's the brand name. Like these are the things that people wear because they kind of just, it just relates to their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so if you're creating like designs, people buy designs, definitely not logos. That's for sure. Not right now. Eventually they will though. It just takes time.
Right. Right. And so that warehouse in China though right now isn't built yet, right? It's
No,
getting built.
so I'm working on it. I just invested a lot, like almost 6 figures into that
Yeah.
business out there. I'm also building one in LA, and this is really cool. So that's not going to be a big factory in LA, maybe like 4 or 5 thousand square feet. But basically, you'll be able to print your first samples there. Check out all the garments that I'm making in China. So it'll be like a smaller version of what I'm doing in China,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to like book and reserve a day with me there. So once a month, I'll make
That's
like a class available. It'll be like 30 seats, or I'll probably like less, more intimate. So like
yeah.
20 to 30 seats. People will be able to book a day with me, and I get to teach them for like 4 or 5 hours that day. We could print your samples. I get to coach you in person. I really like the in-person stuff because we've been doing virtual a lot.
Yeah.
And this is just a way for me to give back to my members. I want to provide as much value, over deliver as much as I can before I really scale this mentorship out or even charge $1 more.
Right. Right. And is that only available to your mentees?
Yeah, it's only gonna be like my
Damn
factories, everything.
it.
But I got you. Like I just really want to like help people as much as I can, and I feel like I'm really changing the game. You guys may think that I'm doing the most, but this is what I do for my brands. I literally do the most. We
Yeah.
do the most. I speak in volume. I don't really speak to a few, and that's like with my brands too. We don't sell $200, $300 hoodies. We sell $40 hoodies that are affordable. At one point, Tune in Tokyo shirts were $6.99.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah, and like look at where we are now. We're selling over 1,000 shirts right now per day.
Yeah.
Per day, like that's pretty incredible for a brand that's been around for 7 years.
100%. Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for flying in.
Of course, thank you guys. Shoot me a follow at Frankie Quiroz. That's the best place to get in touch with me.
Cool. Thank you.